Two gunners, while on gun guard, were discussing a church steeple, the only remaining structure in the enemy lines. One soldier said to the other, "I will bet you 100 francs that I can hit that church steeple." The bet was called. Boom! The cannon roared with a direct hit on the church steeple. The structure disintegrated in a cloud of dust and stones. The Germans took a very dim view of the Americans' action in shooting down their best observation post. The German artillery opened up with an artillery barrage that put an end to the quiet sector. This shell was the first shell fired at the enemy by the American Expeditionary Forces. But this was only the beginning, for millions more were to follow, fired by those experts who fired their guns so fast that they were loaded on the recoil before the gun settled after being fired. From that day, American blood began staining the soil of France.
Bright and early for the daily races, going nowhere, going nowhere. Their tears are filling up their glasses, no expression, no expression. Hide my head, I wanna drown my sorrow. No tomorrow, no tomorrow. And I find it kind of funny, I find it kind of sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. I find it hard to tell you, I find it hard to take. When people run in circles, it's a very, very mad world. Mad world.
April 6, 1917, the United States declared war on Germany and entered World War I. President Woodrow Wilson asked for the declaration of war, proclaiming that the world must be made safe for democracy. Only the year before, American public opinion about entering the war was still divided, and Wilson was reelected largely on the slogan, "He kept us out of war." Wilson had always felt that the U.S. could be the mediator, but his attempts at negotiating a peace had proved unsuccessful. On January 31st, 1917, the United States was informed by Germany that unrestricted submarine warfare would begin on February 1st. Germany said it would sink every vessel that approached Great Britain, Ireland, and some Mediterranean ports. In response, Wilson severed relations with the German government and stated that the new German policy represented a war against all nations. During February and March, several American ships were sunk. British intelligence also intercepted a secret telegram known as the Zimmermann Note that revealed a German offer to Mexico to join in an attack of the U.S. The president now had specific and compelling reasons to declare war on Germany. Wilson would not tolerate full submarine warfare against commercial vessels of neutral nations, especially in light of what had happened to the British passenger ship, the Lusitania. On May 7, 1915 at 2:15 p.m., the Lusitania was struck on the starboard side by a torpedo fired from a German U-boat. A huge explosion ensued. The engine stopped and the crew tried to lower the lifeboats. But minutes later, a second torpedo hit the engine room. This was the fatal blow. Some survivors donned life belts and jumped into the ocean. Others crowded into the remaining lifeboats. Within 18 minutes, the Lusitania had sunk into the ocean's depths. Of a total of 1,906 passengers and crew, 1,198 innocent people were lost, including 128 Americans. This animation was created and shown to the public in movie theaters in order to gain support for entering the war. A wave of resentment against Germany swept over the United States, which influenced its later entry into the war. The German government expressed no regret over the incident and asserted that American citizens had been warned in U.S. newspapers not to sail to Great Britain. They also claimed that the ship was secretly carrying arms and munitions to England. This was vehemently denied by the British. Ironically, Germany's unrestricted submarine warfare, though very effective, may have ultimately cost them the war. Their continued assault on unarmed American commercial ships brought the U.S. into a war that it had desperately tried to avoid. Soon the nearly unlimited might of the largest industrial power in the world and millions of determined young American men would tip the scales against Germany and the Central Powers. On April 6, 1917, the U.S. did more than declare war. It declared that it was now a global power with the will and the strength to assert its convictions anywhere in the world.